amazing to hear that she met us at our booth at MomoCon, and she checked out the comic. It resonated with her.
Yeah.
It was like a legit cosplay, okay? It wasn't just slapped together.
Yeah, didn't have like light up.
It lit up like that's serious. But yeah, so with the fandom growing as it did, with that month hiatus, we wanted to release some sort of one shot, because the one question we always get is, when are we going to see Markeisha in the Kamikaze suit?
Mm-hmm.
And so, over the summer, we released a one-shot called Midnight Run, written by Dan Jolly, and the artists behind it, Janelle and Lisa, did an awesome job on it. We love you guys. And that released over the summer while we had our hiatus.
So just so you can see, this is her.
Yeah, I saw the pictures
Isn't
of her
that
online.
amazing?
Yeah.
I mean, just so...
I did notice that because I do follow Kamikaze Animated on Facebook and try to see what's going on, and tell anybody about it. You don't know how many times I've mentioned you guys because I come across artists all the time so they want to do a comic or they want to do animation, and they had this big dream of doing this big thing, and like, as soon as I had this ready, Turner's gonna give me a pile of money. And I'm like, I think you need to scale down what you're going to actually start with and build up. And then I always point them in your direction, say, look at what these guys are doing. Cool. And see how they had to adjust their plan and, to get to where they want to get to. But it's still, you still have to work at it. Like, there's no time, no matter how good anything is, there's a ton of people fighting for the same opportunities. So I'm always telling people about Kamikaze Animated all the time. And I did the Twitter thing. With the Netflix. I'm like, cool. Yeah. I'm done with that.
That would be great if we could get them.
It shall pass.
It shall pass.
That's right. So you're finishing up episode 1. I know it's a constant process of week in and week out. Wednesday, you have a page up. When did you decide that you were going to grab this team and do the one shot? And how did that come about? Who met who? Who pitched who? And how'd you get Dan to come on board, who's a veteran in the business?
I still have no idea.
Okay, I'm trying to remember. I think Dan and I were on
it was a
comic writers.
Yeah.
It was a comic writers panel, and I think I was moderating or something.
No, we were part of it.
Oh, that's right, we were. So we traded cards and stuff like that, and I realized, he's not that far from our table, so I went to go visit him, and we talked. I looked at his stuff. I was like, wow, this is really good. You wrote for DC? Wait, you wrote for Marvel too? Wow. Just kind of had to fan myself for a minute. And then I was like, well, if you as a writer and somebody who works in a comic, I'd love to know what you think. And he read it. And I didn't expect him to read it. And he came over to our table at one point. I was like, wow, this is really good stuff. And I'm like, really? What? Are you sure? But we just sort of started hanging out.
Well, a lot of good business relationships. It started over sushi, really.
Oh yeah.
So we got to talk about DinnerCon.
What?
Every single convention that we go to, if we find new friends or old friends, we bring them all together on a Saturday or Friday, and we do DinnerCon.
Wow.
Where we all get together in a big group, and we network, and we hang out, and we eat good food. And it started with Lisa and Dion Brown, who worked on Ozelberg. We met them at this tiny little convention.
Out in the middle of
Fuller,
Georgia has a convention.
I had a super tiny little convention, and that was the first night I'd ever had shabu shabu, and we just experienced it together. And we decided that we would do this every time, so it became DinnerCon. And then we met Dan, and we were like, wow, he's really cool, let's have him come. So he was invited to DinnerCon, and then it just sort of exponentially grew. So we had Dan, we had the guy who worked on, what's his name? The guy who works on the Ghostbusters.
Eric
Burnham.
Yeah, Eric Burnham. We had I mean, it was just a bunch of people, and we were all just networking and having fun, and that's what DinnerCon's about.
They were talking about wanting to do this hiatus story and not knowing exactly how they were going to approach it.
Yeah.
And I had read Kamikaze, and I was deeply impressed. I mean, not just with the quality, which is very high, but with the fact that these guys are all still... You know, they're working their day jobs, and they're busting their asses, like into the wee hours of the morning, practically every night, turning the stuff out. And it was the dedication there, you know, the dedication and the fact that they had actually accomplished this. Because, I mean, I'm sure you're aware of how easy it is to say, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to do it, and then that never actually gets done.
That's right. I have lots of those projects.
And I do too.
I wasn't talking about you specifically. I just meant, you know,
I know what you mean, though.
Involvement with the artistic community and the creative community.
All artists have that.
Yeah, and you know, I've worked with artists my entire career.
Of course.
Recognizing the kind of dedication and just sheer flat-out work ethic that they were putting into this, on top of the quality of the project, I wanted to be a part of it. And they were saying, yeah, we want to do this hiatus thing. We're not sure exactly how to go about it. And I leaned over the table over my plate of sushi and said, you know, if only you knew an artist who would volunteer to write a story for you.
Yeah.
I thought he was kidding. Like for a good, you know.
Did I say artist?
Writer.
I did say artist. I meant writer. If you only knew a writer, who would write a story for you.
Okay, this guy is like doing an awful job, you know, promoting himself. He was nominated for an Eisner. Yeah. Like, I mean, this is like an Eisner nominated.
And you don't expect that kind of person.
Yeah, and he's just like,
plop it up.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, oh man, too bad you don't know anybody who's like, you know, an award, you know, nominated artist.
So,
I did not say that.
You didn't say that, but that's what happened in my head.
Okay, it's kind of funny because Carrie was telling me after DinnerCon that night, like, oh my god, we gotta go meet Dan for breakfast. He's interested in writing for us. Like, okay. And then, like, I went home from MomoCon. I decided to do some Googling Dan Jolly. Hey, you know what? I'm a millennial again. That's what I do. I looked him up on Wikipedia and Google. I'm like, and I start texting Carrie, like, what the fuck? Why does this guy want to work for us? We have fooled him somehow. I feel bad.
He don't really know.
The more she told me about about Dan,
he's done this. He's done that.
The more I'm in the same boat with her. I'm sitting there going, oh my god, we have fooled him. Like, what do we do? Like, I don't want him to think that we're awful people, but
it's too late, John. Dan. You've already written it.
Yeah.
The truth comes out. But I think, in the seriousness, though, I think what Dan is saying is that anybody who can see the type of work that you put in, it can tell the dedication. Yeah. True commitment and dedication, that counts for a lot. Yeah. And I think those are the kind of projects anybody wants to jump on in. You know, especially when you've been in the business, Dan, for a long, long time, and you've seen things come and go, artists come and go, and...
Well, yeah, and, you know, there are a lot of writers out there who don't have any problem finding an artist who they can just work with, you know, immediately and get all this stuff done. I have had a lot of problems with that.
Yeah,
and, you know, in the past, it's like, you know, I say, okay, let's do an Image comic book, and all you need to do, and I say, you know, all you need to do is do 3 issues worth, you know, and then the money will start coming in, and then we can start getting paid.
Sure.
But, you know, 3 issues of a comic book is an enormous amount of work, and it's not a charity. And I totally understand that there have been many times in the past where an artist says, yes, I will do this work for you, and then life starts to get in the way.
That's right, yep.
You know?
Or paid work comes up.
Or paid work comes up.
That's right.
And I have total respect for the decision to say, you know, yes, this is a cool thing that we want to do here, but you're not paying me. Yeah. And I just got an opportunity to go draw Daredevil or whatever. And just the fact that the Kamikaze team has sacrificed so much of their time to get this done. I mean, you can't have anything but respect for that.
Yep, I agree, and I do have that respect. Amazing, yeah, you guys are my heroes.
Aww,
Thanks.
that makes me feel so good.
I love Jamel too. I met him a couple years ago, a year ago at least, in the animation field, and of course I want to do what everybody other artists are doing out there. And it's like, dang it, man. Sometimes you just got to put your head down and just do it. And I see artists doing that all the time. It's like, yes.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Jamel to graduate, and then I got a big flag stuck in him.
That's right. You gonna claim him?
Yeah. It's hard to find a writer that you actually enjoy working with.
Yeah.
And actually enjoy just talking to.
And that's true. It's hard finding people you want to work with, man. Yeah. I never heard of this dinner con. I guess I'm not there yet.
Invited.
I'm not there yet, but but yeah, that's how it works. Good relationships, building good relationships with good people. Yeah, and you gotta start being a good person to find those other good people. So this is really good. I love it. So what was the plan? How does this work? Like some of the things I like to cover in a podcast like this is the real work that goes behind the scenes, because this is the story I hear all the time, and I see it happening all the time. An artist does something, it's great, it looks beautiful, and then they're like, oh, they're getting paid such and such for that, I can do that too. And then don't realize that a project like Kamikaze or what y'all doing is taking years to get to that point, to get to of dedication and working on your craft and so on, to get to that point that you can earn eventually when the earning comes in or whatever. And so there's some real life stuff you have to deal with in planning and so on. And I like to hear some of that, discussions that went on. When did y'all start talking about it? How long did it take to write?
Well, I pitched a story for the hiatus, and
which we still want to do.
Yeah.
Another story.
And Carrie and Alan in Havana talked about it, and they decided that it wasn't right for the first hiatus story, and they were like a little bit like trepidatious about coming and saying, we don't actually want to do this story. But I mean, as a freelance writer, you get told no more than you get told yes. Working with an editor is an integral part of the process. So they said, we actually think that this should come later. We'd like to do one that's more focused on markation and the action. And I don't know, I got the impression they were afraid they were going to hurt my feelings.
Yes. Yes, I was terrified I was going to hurt your feelings and you were going to run away and never talk to us.
And my reaction was, yeah, okay.
And once again, I was like, is this a trick? But
okay, so now, when was this published? What page? Can we tell the dates? Is there a date?
Yeah.
August 26th, right? Yep. So that's when the first page went up. How long before that did y'all actually start working on the story? To start working on ideas?
I think a week or two after MomoCon.
Yeah.
Because
so in the summer.
Yeah. In the summer, it was actually in May. So
late
May, late June or early June, and Dan had said, "Oh yeah, I'll work on this," and then I was talking with Jamel, and I was like, "Jamel would be a really good fit." And then I was thinking about colors, and I was like, "Oh, Lisa's got such pretty work." And then they just sort of said yes. And I was like, really? I was like, I just brought it up. Like, would you be interested in this? And they're like, oh, yeah. Especially if Dan's writing it. So
I didn't know Dan was writing it.
That's right.
I was just like, yeah.
And by the way, I've also worked with a lot of creatives over the years. I know how flaky they can be. No offense. But when Dan agreed to do the story for the hiatus project, I was like, okay, alright. He said he'll work on it. And then Carrie texts me and says, oh, Dan got the first draft up. Did you see it? Like, what the heck? And then, we got some work from Janelle and Lisa. Like, what the heck?
Yeah.
They're actually following us. Holy crap. This is really cool.
It was insane. And, not to, play, make it sound like there are, highly irresponsible or anything, but you know, we're just so used to this culture of I'll do it, and then kind of doing something else, and to see that